Hey everyone, Leo with the Dreaming Tree, and welcome to the assembly video for our Moroccan tile greeting card. I have everything cut out in front of me, as should you. And this is a very simple card for those of you that made some of our recent cards that are mostly comprised of just some simple layers. This will be very familiar to you. In front of me here, I've got the three main pieces of the design. And you can see I have them kind of laid on top of each other already. I did take and hit the purple part on top with a little bit of ink around the edges and around some of these areas here just to, just to give it a little bit of extra interest. One thing also, when you cut this out, depending on your machine, this is a symmetrical piece, but depending on how it's cut and which machine you have, you may find that depending on how you lay it out, it may actually kind of snap together better. So you may want to rotate it a few times and find the best fit. And by the best fit, I mean obviously these center pieces, you want to make sure that you're getting, well, in this case, the yellow showing through, but also make sure that the edges are nice and, well, sitting on top of each other. Because if I rotate it just 90 degrees this way, I notice that when I center it, there's one little section that's a little bit off, or maybe there's a little bit of yellow showing where it shouldn't be, and that is typically just because of well, the machine and their inconsistencies. If you're using a Cricut, I don't think you're going to run into the problem. This one was cut with a Sizzix Eclipse 2. And sometimes I notice that it is a little inconsistent, but as long as you put them on top of each other in the correct way, the way that they were actually cut out, it should fit perfectly, and in this case it does. So again, could just be my machine, but if you're experiencing that same thing, just rotate it a few times. But anyway, we've got a lot of surface area here to cover with a lot of details, so you're going to want to act quickly and try to cover as much of this area as you can. You don't need to get glue on every single tiny little inch of this. That's a little overkill, so don't worry about that. But do your best to get it in as many little areas as you can. And then this is pretty straightforward. Just want to make sure that you get it nice and centered. I'm kind of focusing my gaze on this thin little area in the center, because there's no yellow showing through this area, so that's kind of a good place to kind of focus your gaze to ensure you're getting it in the right spot. And with this one here, this one I'm just going to kind of look at the perimeter and the edges to make sure that I've got everything in the right spot. So again, with this one, and my glue looks like I just cleaned it out, and of course it's acting up a little bit because I left the cap off. Let me make sure I've got it in the correct alignment, and I do. So again, just kind of move quickly here. This one's it's a delicate little piece, so be careful with this one here. But you definitely want to try to get your glue in as many spots as you can. Now, if you do have some areas that kind of dry a little prematurely, don't worry about it. I'll show you a little tip and a little trick to kind of fix any areas that might not be sitting flat once we actually get this glued down. So it's not a big deal. Okay, just using the perimeter as my guide here. I'm going to pick this up. There we go, perfect. Just like that. Okay, now, as I mentioned, and I could already tell that I've got a little area here that is not sitting flat. Again, it's a lot of area to cover, so don't feel bad if you've got little areas peeling up. Just take a piece of scrap paper, throw a little glue on it, and just paint a little bit of glue on the sections that maybe are not sitting flat. No big deal. Okay, and I'm just I can feel here that that part there isn't sitting flat. It's kind of, just didn't get enough glue, so I'll just paint a little extra glue on that section. wipe off any excess. Okay, take a look at the center here. That part looks good. That looks good. I think we're okay. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to take the card base, and that is made up of these two pieces. You'll notice that on this piece, we have a little T cut in on one side. That's T for tab. And you can see this is a little bit different, this little back piece. What we're going to do is we're going to pop this in here, and this little middle section is going to cover up that T like that. So all we need to do is put glue on this little tab, and we'll get that glued into place. So just cover up this whole thing, and I'm going to take and I'm going to spread this glue out to the very edge of this fancy tab. I don't think we've done this one before or anything like it. Okay, and then find that little section with the T. You can just kind of pop it in like this. Make sure it's centered, and nudge it all the way up to the fold, and then press that down. And that's looking nice and centered. Looks good. Okay, and I'm looking here. I see one more little area. It's kind of not sitting flat. Just paint a little extra glue on that. Wipe off the excess, press that down. And here we go. Okay, so that's what the inside looks like. That is the back. So this is actually just going to go right on the front. We're going to glue this down flat. I suppose if you want, you can actually use some foam squares on this to make this dimensional. That would actually look pretty cool. Okay, before we do that, I'm going to take this piece. This is our little liner for the inside. This is where you're going to write your little note or do your stamping. If you have a single line font and you want your machine to write your little message using your machine and a pen, you can do that on here. This is where, again, that's up to you. And we're going to put this right in the center. You want to make sure you keep a nice little even border all the way around. Okay, just like that. And there we go. And then again, one of two things here. You can either glue this down flat, or you can put some little foam squares on the back of this and elevate it to give it a little more interest, which I think would be pretty cool. So I'm going to do that. I'll just put some foam squares on here. And if you have some larger ones, which I actually do, just decided not to use them. Could probably get away with using a lot less. Now before I peel off the sticky part of this, I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of a push test. And obviously I need a couple more here in these areas, just to keep it from sagging in these spots. Okay, and peel that off. Like I said, you could totally glue this down flat, and that's fine. No worries. However you want to do it. If you don't have any foam squares, that's okay. You can just do it flat. There we go. And we just want to get this nice and centered on the card base, I should say. Make sure you keep a nice little even border all the way around, like so. Yeah, looks pretty good, I'd say. And then we have this little piece here. It's going to go in the center, and I'm going to use one little foam square on that. Let's see if that's too, no, that's perfect size for it. And we'll pop that right in the center, like so. We'll adorn that with probably a little gem of some sort, maybe a rhinestone or a pearl. Not really sure yet, and there we go. Okay, so that is the actual card, and of course, with every card from Dreaming Tree, we also include a matching envelope. So I've already pre-folded everything with the envelope. I'm going to take and just make sure that all the tabs are folded. This is the other piece that's going to go on like this, but what we're going to do is we're going to anchor this to the envelope base here. I'm going to start with the bottom, And we're going to take and spread that glue out to the very edges. Okay, and you want to just get that nice and centered and aligned with the bottom tab, and press that down. There we go. And just hold that down for a moment while that sets. Give that a nice press. Get that glue in there. Okay, then we can fold this down and we'll apply glue to the remaining two tabs, like so. And then since we have that anchored, all we need to do is just flip that up and it'll fall right into place, go exactly where it needs to go. Spread that glue out to the very edge of that tab and fold this up and press that down. And just give that a little bit of a press, help that glue get into the nooks and crannies of the paper fibers. Now we have this little section here. It's going to get glued right here so that the flap on the envelope has a nice little two-tone sort of effect going here. And we're going to actually put glue on this flap so that we know exactly where we need to put the glue. If we were to try to put it on the purple piece, we may end up getting some glue showing in this little cutout area, and we do not want that. Okay, and take this piece, just kind of butt it up to the fold, make sure it is centered, and sitting nice and flat. And then just go ahead and take the flap and bring it down, press that down, just like that. And finally, this little matching little design element here. We'll just throw a few little dots of glue on that. And that is going to get glued center right here. It's a beautiful envelope. Okay, and there we go. So envelope is done. Card is done. And I should probably wait a second before I pop this in here, but I can never wait. I just get too excited to show it all off. And there we go. And it's not all the way in. There we go. And there you have it. Okay. So that's pretty much it. It's a very simple, very quick card, and well, you can use it for a multitude of things as the design is, well, very generic and universal. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and visit our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And while you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, I would love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, or you can type in this little URL here that you see at the bottom of your screen. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as always, I look forward to crafting with you again.